some of you probably clicked on this video or listening to this on a podcast because something didn't maybe go your way. Something didn't come to you the way that you expected it, or, how you wanted it in your life. Mm-hmm. And shit happens. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Shit happens. And that doesn't necessarily mean that's going to be your story forever. No. You deciding to be lost could be your story. That could be your story if you want to subscribe to that.
If you want to keep repeating it and living in that emotion.
But that's a choice.
And attracting the same experience, then that is absolutely your choice. Welcome back to A Life by You. Today's topic, we are going to be talking about what you should do if you are lost.
I think we've all been there before.
Honey.
I
think I've been lost at least 3 or 4 times in these 47 years. Yeah, I've definitely been lost. What about yourself?
Oh man, plenty of times. Sometimes it still happens. It still happens. I'm not gonna lie. But I think
2 weeks ago. Yeah, MJ, what are we doing? No, I'm just kidding.
But I think we've mentioned this before in episodes, as you do this work, you build resiliency. You know what I mean? You build perseverance. Yes. You build patience with yourself and know that there's so much on the other side if you work through it. There's a path to something else.
To something greater. Yeah.
To something greater. So I know for me, one of the times where one of the darkest times I feel like was my IVF experience.
Oh yeah.
My infertility experience. And it was harder before it was better. And I probably had the most doubt in myself as a woman, as a female being in my body. You understand what I'm saying? Like, I can't do what I'm supposed to innately do scientifically. You know what I mean? This isn't working. And so I felt physically as a failure. There was a point in time before that. I shouldn't say a point in time. Up to that point, for years, even when I met my husband, I had always said I didn't want kids. So it was just like, am I being punished for saying I don't want to have kids?
Put that energy out.
Because I had said that for so long. And that came from me not wanting kids was because of my experience watching my parents divorce and seeing how it affected me and seeing how it affected my siblings.
Trauma.
That it was because of trauma.
Yeah.
And so, long story short, I shouldn't say long story short, the story for me was my IVF experience was just I started going to therapy because of it. I knew I was it was like the lowest of low at that point, I feel like.
Well, I didn't experience it, but I've heard it's very challenging.
And it was.
Your hormones are all over the place.
Girl, so you're being pumped up with synthetic hormones, but even leading up to it, if I look at the experience in totality, that probably was the easiest. Leading up to it was hard. Even getting to the point of saying to my husband, I think we need to do this. You know what I mean? He's like, we don't need this. There's nothing wrong with us. You understand? So there was just so many different things leading up to so many levels. And it just felt like instead of incrementally getting better, it felt lower and lower and lower. Yeah. The miscarriages, and it was very traumatic. That was trauma. And I'm still working through it, I'll be honest. I feel like I'm in a much better place. But there are still situations, I think, sometimes where some things still kind of trigger me. I think even loving myself and my body from everything that I experienced is part of it holistically. And I think sometimes when I feel lost, I get back to that place. Does that make sense? Yeah. Like, I don't love my body. I don't love myself because it didn't do what it was supposed to do. Does that make sense?
Oh, that's all embedded in the subconscious.
It is.
Absolutely. Well, it's moved over to the conscious mind because you're aware of it.
Yeah.
That's real. That's a lot of undoing.
It is. Yeah. And it's constant. It's an everyday waking up. Now let's talk about, how do you not become lost, but being very cognizant. I think, like you said, being aware what's in the subconscious, you know, tapping into what's really going on behind here.
Most people have no idea.
No. And it's taken time for me to peel back those layers and say, okay, this is really what's going on. You know, this is really what's going behind the scenes in my head. You know, when certain occurrences happen, why I'm getting triggered, you know what I mean? And be able to identify, and I can't even say it's a specific moment. For me, it's the totality of some, you know, an experience. Mm-hmm. And so I recognize that. Yeah. And then by recognizing that, I start giving myself some grace. You know what I mean? Good. Recognizing that, you know, I'm infallible. I'm a human being. I'm not meant to be perfect. This vessel isn't meant to be perfect, but it's powerful. It's incredibly powerful. My mind is powerful. My heart is powerful. My femininity is powerful. Yes. You know, despite I may have had to get some help, ain't nothing wrong with that. You know what I mean? Because you ain't supposed to do it alone. We talked about that. So, you know, recognizing those things and just, you know, being really intentional and loving and patient with myself every day. Yeah. You know what I mean? In the mornings, you know, looking myself in the mirror, you know, and even going to bed. I typically try to meditate at night. Usually happens when I put Lucky to sleep and we put on it's like meditation music, and it helps her fall asleep. And I use it as an opportunity to slow down and to get rid of all that energy from the day. Yes. And then also just to kind of recenter to myself, because I've recognized if I'm not okay, it's all...
Your daughter won't be okay. Yeah. I mean, the mom, the goddess feminine energy.
It's true.
If we're not okay, our household isn't okay. It trickles into everything else.
And I've recognized, we've talked about cycle syncing, since I've implemented that, and, you know, being more cognizant about my hormones and how powerful they can be. Yes. I feel like I love myself so much more. You know what I mean? And I don't feel as lost. Like, why am I thinking this way? Why am I feeling this way? Why? And I can recognize, I can identify certain triggers before they come. Like, oh, we're not doing that. Because I know this is going to happen. Yes. And I feel like I'm just a much better wife. I enjoy being around people more. And I enjoy more my time with my husband more. And I think that ultimately it's about being very cognizant about, okay, what's really pulling you down? You know what I mean? What's really going on here? It's not a lack of, you know, money or whatever it may be. It usually is something else, some story that we subscribe to.
Yeah, that we're telling ourselves over and over again.
Yeah. And that's why you're just lost in that.
So how do you overcome that? You start examining your thoughts.
It is.
And it's taking a notepad, putting it in your purse, your backpack, whatever, and you start jotting it down all day long. Okay, this popped in my head, this popped in my head, that popped in my head. Oh, somebody cut me off. I thought that about that person. Or your boss had a meeting with you and you left that meeting and now all these things are swarming in your mind. Yep. What are those? What is it? Write it down. Get it on paper. Because in order to really find out who you are and what's bothering you, what's triggering you, what's upsetting you, we really have to go into the subconscious.
You do.
But it's hard to do the subconscious because it's everything that you've been taught and experienced from the age of being born till about the age of 5.
5, yeah.
5 or 6.
5 or 6, yeah.
That is now your imprint of how you see the world, how you view the world, and how you navigate, show up in the world, your reaction, your triggers, everything. Yep. So we need to go back to that time and we need to figure out what those triggers are. Yep. Okay. And then once we figure those out, then we start counteracting those triggers with positive affirmations or meditating, journaling. Maybe if your trauma is so severe, therapy, hypnosis. Yeah. Depending on how spiritual you are, you know, you may need to go talk to your priest, your preacher.
I've heard microdosing, that's something that's big right now, but I've heard it's been very transformational for people with PTSD. Yeah. I mean, there's so many different tools out there, but the biggest thing you have to do is really identify, where is this coming from?
Where is it coming from?
You know what I mean? Where is this really, what is this rooted in?
Yes. What is it rooted in?
Yes.
And that may take a week, a couple of weeks, a month.
Years.
It
could take years.
But I encourage you to start immediately. Get a notepad, carry it with you, and just start jotting down your thoughts.
Yep.
Because your thoughts are going to tell you what's going on.
It's going to tell you what stories you're telling yourself.
Yeah.
What false beliefs you may have. And really start, like I said, peeling back those layers in terms of what's really cycling and bringing you down, and not and then what you can do, like you said, is start replacing those things that's cycling in your head to elevate you. You could start countering them
to get to get it out of your to start rebuilding it,
to rebuilding your belief system, and that takes time.
Oh, that takes years.
It takes years, and so I feel like I'm in a much better place, but I do things now to counter the triggers. Like I even put sticky notes on my mirror. You know what I mean? I put reminders
everywhere.
I put reminders everywhere, whether it's, something I can hold. I know crystals is something like that for other people, having that energy. The whole frequencies. I surround myself by certain people. You know what I mean? I've created boundaries, so that I know that I will not allow myself to be triggered, and I think communication is a big piece. I think for me at least, I always thought I was a really good communicator, but now I recognize, I think I expected people to be able to read my mind or read my experiences, or read my feelings. And that's just impossible. You know what I mean? If in anything, it's not fair.
Yeah, nobody's a mind reader.
No one's a mind reader.
Your girlfriend, your boyfriend, your parents, your children, your significant other.
No.
You have to be able to communicate what you're feeling.
Yes.
And this is where I blame the school system, because we do not give our kids the proper tools on how to even identify your emotions. When you're in school, it's like, don't do that, don't cry. It's always a don't, but it's like, why are you feeling this way?
Yeah.
What is making you feel this way? And it's okay to feel this way, but let's figure out how we can soothe ourselves, how we can fix ourselves. You know what I mean? Instead of later in life, drugs, sex, this, that, shopping, whatever, to cover up those triggers and emotions. We need to teach our young people how to identify what they're feeling and how they can fix what they're feeling, or go through the emotion and understand that it's just an emotion.
Exactly. It's temporary.
And it's going to disappear. It's not going to last forever.
No.
But none of us even have these tools.
No.
You know?
Well, it's just so funny because Lucky, I've been telling her no, about certain things. And I explained to her, no is not a bad word.
Right.
And she's like, yes, it is. No is a bad word. And it's to your point. At school, she's constantly being told, don't do this. And it may not be her, but as a class, they're told, don't do this, don't do that, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
She's inundated with that. So in her mind, no is bad. To not do something is a bad thing. And I had to share with her, I'm like, sometimes by saying no allows you to do something else.
Right.
You know what I mean? It gets you closer to where you want to be. And I didn't recognize that until I became an adult. You know what I mean? Not even, probably closer to my 30s.
Yeah.
And so here I am trying to teach a 4-year-old that. Imagine. But I just know how important it is for her to understand, no's not a bad word.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? No can lead to opportunities.
Yes.
And I think a lot of people, some of you probably clicked on this video or listening to this on a podcast because something didn't maybe go your way. Something didn't come to you the way that you expected it, or, how you wanted it in your life. And shit happens. You know what I mean? Shit happens. And that doesn't necessarily mean that's going to be your story forever.
No.
You deciding to be lost could be your story. That could be your story if you want to subscribe to that.
If you want to keep repeating it and living in that emotion.
But that's a choice.
And attracting the same experience, then that is absolutely your choice.
Right. But you could flip that no, that opportunity that didn't happen, that whatever that something that was denied you, you can flip that and move closer to where you want to be.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's nothing to stop you from doing that.
But it's so much easier for people. I've noticed it's easier for people to always point the finger and blame. This happened to me.
Oh, for sure.
So this is why I am the way I am. Okay.
Lack accountability.
It's like, okay, but we have to show up. Yes. All of our parents were not perfect.
No.
You know what I mean? They're human beings. None of us are perfect.
No.
But at some point, you have to let go of that story.
Yeah, I agree.
And create a new story.
Yep. And that's a choice.
That is 100% a choice.
And see, that's the thing. To me, that goes back to saying no, I'm not going to subscribe to this anymore. I'm saying yes to this possibility.
Yes.
You see what I'm saying?
Now, where it gets challenging, I think, for a lot of people, and they're like, I want to change, but I just can't, because there is a chemical that's released in the body that allows for people to stay where they're at. I mean, think about it. You know what I mean?
That makes sense.
And it's an emotion. An emotion evokes chemicals in the body. So how do you overcome those chemical emotions that keep you stuck, right? Now, that's usually, for me, it would be hypnosis, getting hypnotized, going really deep. Therapy. I've had multiple therapists. Changing the way you eat.
Oh, food. Yeah.
Moving your body.
Yep.
Okay. Getting out into nature. These are things that are going to help change the chemicals in your body.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is you may have to sit out in nature and get triggered and feel that emotion. Never run from the emotions, you guys. That's another big thing a lot of people try to do.
You want to understand it.
And sit in it.
Yeah.
And sometimes it is very challenging to do.
It is.
But if you can, and you can learn how to sit in that feeling and be like, okay, this will pass, or whatever affirmation or whatever it is you need to tell yourself to make it through that moment, almost like reliving it. And that's what being hypnotized does, is it helps you relive it and show that you are okay on the other end of that. If you can learn how to do those kind of things, you'll be able to shift and start creating. But it's hard for people to get out of their way. And I get it. It's chemicals.
Some people love being stuck.
It's not even loving it.
Well,
it's like
they just...
They're so... Yeah. What is the thing we always talk about? People have to do in order to change. Get out of their comfort zone.
Yeah. Yeah, you gotta get comfortable with being uncomfortable.
And even though some people have had traumatic childhoods and they live in that, and that's how they show up in the world, it's comforting to them on some level.
They subscribe to that.
It's comforting. Yeah. There's a chemical in their body that's saying it's okay.
Yeah.
And it's overcoming that.
Yeah.
Is the hardest thing, because I have family members, I have friends, and I'm trying to teach them, okay, you can manifest, you can do this, you can do that. But they can't get out of their own way.
No, I have family members as well, and it saddens me, because I truly believe anything and everything is available to us if we're willing
to do the work.
To do the work.
And that's just
and I think and doing the work is just getting out of your own way. It really is. Whether losing weight, making more money, finding the love of your life, whatever it may be, getting the dream career, whatever it may be, it's about stopping the cycle of self-sabotage and getting out of your own way. And getting out of your own way can be really, really difficult. I know for me personally, my IVF journey became a catalyst for me to recognize what happens when I do get out of my own way. You know what I mean? When I am willing to get some help,
right.
When I am willing to challenge myself. I did so many things I never thought that I would do. I did so many different type of workouts. Right. I did so many type of different different diets.
Yes.
I did acupuncture. I sought out so many different ways so I can become something else.
Yeah.
Because I wanted something else in my life.
You have to be relentless.
I was relentless about it.
It's literally...
I was relentless about it.
24 hours, 7 days a week.
It was. I was consumed.
If you want to change, that's what you have to do.
But you can also become consumed with the wrong things.
Oh, yeah.
And that's typically when you're lost.
Yeah.
It's typically when you're lost.
Yeah. So to bring it all back.
Yep.
Because I know we go here and there. Focus on your thoughts.
Yeah.
Let's figure out what those are. Examine those, and then you start the process of peeling back the layers and counteracting those triggers, feelings, emotions, and thoughts.
Rewriting your subconscious.
That make you feel like you were lost.
Yep. 100%. I know this was a deep episode, guys.
It was a very deep episode, but I think a lot of people right now are feeling lost.
I think so. I hear that. And it breaks my heart.
They just don't know what to do, where to go, how to even start.
No, and it's funny you say, I know we're wrapping it up, guys, I promise. But it's funny you say that about that chemical reaction, that feeling. I can tap back into that so easily.
Right?
You understand what I mean?
Yes.
It's so easy to default into that.
It is.
And I'm sitting here as we're talking about, I can feel those feelings.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So I really, there's a path forward, guys. But the path is the work.
It's the work, but let's start with examining the thoughts.
Yeah.
That's the one thing. If you don't get anything else from this video, examine your thoughts.
Yep.
And start looking at that.
You got this, guys.
Yes.
All right. Bye.
Bye.